Now that you understand the basic concept of templates versus documents, let's go ahead and create a Microsoft template in Advanced MD. To do so, we'll click on the New button, and then up where it says Templates, click the ellipsis button. And then we want to add a new template, and then click on New. The Microsoft Word template will pull up, or what looks more like the Microsoft Word document, but it's actually a template because if you look up in the upper left-hand corner here on the blue title bar, it says Template. Now I can't see my header that well, and definitely not my margins, so what I'll do is I'll change the zoom arrow down to page width. Now if you still can't see them, you may want to take a look at your view menu and make sure it's on print layout and not normal, and then go ahead and try again and change your zoom to page width. Now remember, the purpose of creating a template is to be able to pull this up on every single patient, whereas with the document you can only pull it up at one patient at a time or attach it to that one patient. So for example, let's say we want to create a form, and any patient we pull up we want to be able to fill in this form. So first create the template and then set the form inside the template rather than in a Word document. For example, let's go ahead and create a basic form. Now what I want to do is I want to type in the word allergies and create a drop-down menu next to it. Up on the top, I need my Forms toolbar. How do I know which toolbar is open and which is which? Well, it's hard to find out, but usually if you right-click on any one of these buttons or any one of these toolbars, for example, if I right-click here, or I right-click over here, or I right-click down here, you'll see every time I right-click it pulls up a menu. Now this menu is a list of all the toolbars. The ones that are checked in orange are the ones that are currently open. The standard toolbar is the top one, the standard meaning saving, opening, printing. The formatting is the second one, where you apply formatting to your text like bold, italics, and underline. And then the third one's the mail merge, which is something that we don't have to use, so if I left click on it, the third toolbar disappears. Now I want to right click again because what I'm looking for is the Forms toolbar. This will allow me to create my little drop down menus and checkboxes. You can hover over each one of these buttons and it'll tell you what they do or what their purpose is. So I want to do the drop-down form field. I click on it once and it adds this kind of rectangular square blob there. There's not much to it by looking at it, but we're going to double click on it. When we double click on it, we actually pull up the properties for that gray box. And this is where we can start typing in our drop-down menu items. For example, for allergies, maybe the first one is we start typing in is none. Maybe nobody has any allergies. You can either go ahead and click the add button, or I can hit enter on the keyboard and keep typing. In any case, once I type them all in, I can use these up and down arrows to move them as far as importance goes, or to try to alphabetize them. Like grass, we can move that up close to the top. Or if there's one that's not particular, I can always click on the remove. In any case, once I'm done, I click OK. Now once we set this, we won't be able to use it yet by clicking on it and getting a list of drop-down lists. The only time the drop-down list will appear, or any other features of the forms, is only after we actually lock the form. So we still have a little bit more work to do before we lock our form that it allows to go ahead and have those drop-downs. So I'll click at the end of my default word none and hit enter and go ahead and type in another one. And then I want to add another drop-down menu next to hospitalized. Double click on it to add my drop-down items. And then when I'm finished, I go ahead and click OK. Now drop-down fields are not the only ones you have to choose from. I'll hit enter again a couple of times. You can also use checkboxes. What I want to do is I want to go ahead and give a couple of boxes here to check for eye infections, like let's say for the right eye, left eye, or maybe even both. To do that, on the Forms toolbar, I'm going to add my little checkbox by clicking on it, hit the spacebar, then type in right, hit enter, click on the checkbox again, type in left, and then, well, if I wanted to, I could add a third checkbox and say it's both, or in this case I could check both of them here. In any case, it's your option. Finally, if I go ahead and lock my form now, sure, I'll be able to use these as drop-down menus and check these boxes, but that's all I can do. I can't type in any text. The only way I can type in any text after I lock my form is to add in a text box field. For example, let's say I want to be able to type in some additional information on this patient or in this form. I can type in the text additional info, and up on the Forms toolbar, click once on the text form field, the AB /. Now what this does is basically adds the gray box that we've seen before. We can leave it like this, and then when we lock the form, all we have to do is tab to this field and start typing, and that gray box will expand with the text. You can bring up the properties of this gray box by double-clicking on it. For example, let's say anytime I type text in this field, I want it to be in all caps. Double-click, click on the text format arrow, and select uppercase. Now once I'm done entering in all my drop-down menus, checkboxes, and text box fields, we'll go ahead and click on the Save button, type in the name, and then you also want to add a description, at least one letter, because as you can tell here, the OK button is not available until I type in something. The moment I go ahead and click OK, it'll save it, and then once it's saved, I can close out of the Word template, and you can see it's now saved here. Go ahead and close out, click cancel, click cancel. Now when I pull up a patient and use that form and create a copy of it so I don't overwrite the form, click on the new button because we created the form template. Click on the ellipsis button, double click on the patient form here, selects it. After we select the template, click OK. It opens up the Microsoft Word document. It says Microsoft Word, and the extension .doc means it's actually the document and not the template. So if I make any changes here and then save it, it'll save it to the patient and not as a template. So if I want to go ahead and make changes, we click on the Lock button on the Forms toolbar, and then click on the drop-down arrows and talk to the patient and say, well, right eye infection, and you can hit the Tab key and it'll go through each field. And then additionally, if we wanted to add text, because we had that text box, we can in any case, once we're done filling this out and we want to save this and tie it to the patient, you want to make sure that you unlock this. If you don't unlock it, AdvancedMD is going to have some issues as of the moment. It doesn't like protected documents outside of AdvancedMD. If you want to protect it, you want to lock it. First load it up and then save it, and then go ahead and lock it in AdvancedMD. So make sure you unprotect the form, and when you unprotect it, well, it still leaves your choices that you selected. Click the Save button. Now you can go ahead and stick with the default that AdvancedMD has assigned the name. For example, you have patient form, which is the name of the template. Then you have the number, chart number of the patient, and then of course you've got the patient's 3 letters of the last name Simpson and HO for Homer, and then the date. Of course you can always again write over that and say. Additionally, you've got the 4 categories you can tie it to. Select one of the menu from the categories and then click OK. And then once we save it, close out of the Word document, and then you'll see now that we actually have the P form.